Welcome to the fourth in a series of videos about play pedagogy. If you've not yet watched videos 1 to 3, please go back and watch these first. In this video, we will follow on from video 3, where we began to explore learning environments. In this video, we aim to explore what makes a high-quality environment. Why is it important that we have a high-quality environment? We will often hear the environment referred to as the second teacher. This is because when the adults in the room are engaged, either in direct teaching or in play with other children, we want to feel secure that all children playing in our classroom or beyond our classroom if you have access to an atrium or outdoor space are learning and are being suitably supported and challenged by the experiences that are on offer. Creating a high quality environment. In East Lothian, we would like to see, hear and feel an environment which is welcoming, nurturing and supportive to all who use and attend the setting. It's providing learning opportunities which support all areas of the curriculum with an emphasis on literacy, numeracy and health and wellbeing. That is set out in a way to spark and promote learning and independence, both indoors and outdoors. Is engaging the children in challenge and well thought out experiences and provocations. Is constantly in a state of change, responding to the needs of the group and their preferences. Is engaging the children in challenging, stimulating and exciting learning opportunities. Is providing experiences, spaces and resources that are well planned and organised. When we're considering our high quality environment, it's important to consider both the physical and social environment. The circle inclusive classroom scale can support us in evaluating this effectively and finding areas for improvement. We've all fallen into the trap of wanting to set up a perfect looking environment. However, this is less important than the play potential of the items that are within it. When creating or evaluating our environments for play, we need to consider each of these bullet points listed here and think about how we achieve these through our spaces, our experiences, and our interactions. Interactions. High quality interactions can extend children's learning by helping them to think more deeply. Julie Fisher says, the purpose of any interaction is to consolidate, extend or provoke children's learning and development. High quality interactions can include being down at the child's level, tuning in, showing genuine interest, using appropriate language, respecting children's own decisions and choices, inviting children to elaborate, recapping, allowing time for children to think and respond, speculating, offering personal experience, clarifying ideas, using specific praise, offering an alternative, reciprocal interthinking, where we are using talk to think collectively to engage with other people's ideas through language, asking open questions, and active listening. Within early learning and childcare, the LIFT programme is being used to support positive interactions. LIFT stands for Languages Fun Together. It's a universal approach promoting the use of adult-child interaction strategies used within our East Lothian early learning and childcare settings to support the speech, language and communication development of all children within our settings. Understanding the principles of LIFT can support teachers by developing their understanding of how rich adult-child interactions are fostered earlier in a child's learning. The Lothian LIFT vision is all children will have access to an environment where adults use adult-child interaction strategies to support and promote their communication, listening and talking skills. It's also important that we consider non-verbal interactions. These may include facial expressions, body language, physical distance or closeness, and how we use visuals within our setting to support communication. Experiences. High quality experiences are an offer that we put out to our learners. As adults, we will support children to engage with these experiences to get the most out of them, but we also want them to be accessible to children when the adults in the room are engaged with others. Therefore, it's important that we use things like provocations and invitations to help children advance their learning. What are provocations and invitations? A provocation can be an item that we add to our basic provision with an intended purpose. For example, adding a set of scales to the home role play area when learning about weight. We add the resource to provoke the learning, but we do not expressly lead this. We allow children to take the lead and explore this new resource with their play. The end result is not predetermined and can sometimes be very different from how we intended the resource to be used, and that's absolutely fine. The children will lead the learning. An invitation to play is slightly different. Invitations are usually a task or activity with a specific learning outcome. For example, setting up an activity where children have the opportunity to use scales to weigh different items. It's important that we consider how these invitations are differentiated to ensure we maximise the learning opportunities for all children. Potentially, you could have baskets with children's pictures on them with different objects in them that they use to compare weight, some with a large weight disparity and some more challenging with a smaller weight disparity. Invitations to play normally have an intended outcome. However, we will find that the children within our settings can be very creative and sometimes can take these invitations in a totally different direction. It's absolutely okay to go with this and let children lead learning with an invitation to. We also need to consider whether children are still developmentally engaged in schematic play. This starts by recognising the different forms of schematic play and ensuring that we have resources within our setting throughout our environment to allow this kind of play to be explored. You can find out more about schematic play on pages 34, 35 and 36 of Realising the Ambition. Spaces. When setting up the spaces within our play environment, it's important that we consult with children. Let them be involved in the design of the spaces. It's also important to remember that whilst being responsive, we need a balance of change and predictability to ensure that children feel motivated and engaged, but also secure in their surroundings. The spaces that are listed on screen make up the basic provision that we would like children to have access to. However, not all classrooms will have the space to facilitate all of the spaces listed above. You should consider which of these will be core spaces within your classroom or outdoor space, and which will be set up on a rolling basis. This may be different for different schools as the needs of the children using the spaces will be different. There is, however, one constant we suggest, and this is the home role play space. Research tells us that a home role play space is one of the core areas that should always be present for play. This is because all children can relate to it. It also gives children the opportunity to reenact situations or experiences they have had to further their understanding. Just like children enjoy to watch the same movie over and over again, having the chance to explore common experiences supports their development and understanding of how the world is working around them. Alternatively, space may not be an issue for you, and in this case, you might want to consider how you can expand in some of these areas, for example, having dry and wet sand. Realising the Ambition emphasises to us that through a play-based approach, literacy, numeracy and health and well-being must be a particular focus for practitioners. We need to consider how we promote the development of these skills throughout our entire environment. There may be children in your setting who never visit the writing table or the creative area, so does that mean that they never have an opportunity to mark make? We have to think about how we provide these opportunities throughout the entire environment. So, for example, can you add clipboard, paper, and pencils to your construction area so children can draw a plan of their model? Can you add rulers to the construction area so they can measure and experience maths and numeracy? Are there books which talk about construction or buildings that could be added to that area? We have to think creatively about how we can promote literacy, numeracy, and health and well-being within each of the spaces that we provide for children. There are documents on the Early Learning and Childcare website about promoting literacy and numeracy across your whole environment. Loose parts. There's an expectation that loose parts will feature within the provision on offer within your environment. Loose parts is a label given to any collection of materials that can be used to expand upon children's learning. They have no specific function or goal. There's no right or wrong way to use loose parts. Children can explore them with their own agenda without fear or failure of judgment. A plastic banana can only ever be a plastic banana, but a wooden block could be anything a child can imagine it to be. Loose parts can be moved and arranged, designed, taken apart, and more. In the picture on screen, you'll see a child who has taken cars from their small world area and combined them with loose parts to create a city with a beach and a car park. Loose parts can be both small or large, and sometimes we get so focused on the small loose parts that we forget about the large objects too, and they can be both natural or man-made. For example, pine cones, shells, sticks, yogurt pots, curtain hooks, corks, plastic lids, planks of wood, pallets, bottles. Loose parts are very useful as they're often easy to obtain with little to no cost. You could start a collection from parents or at a local community space looking for newspapers or lids from bottles, yogurt tubs. You can ask to collect a different item each month, and you can have a drop off tub in your reception or entrance. You can also use resources such as zero waste, and shops like B&Q often have a wood offcuts section at the front door that they give away for free. Some settings have also set up a homework task for children to collect things that can be used as part of their loose parts provision, such as sticks and stones over a holiday or weekend. Loose parts can be stored in many different ways. Sometimes settings choose to store their loose parts centrally, and this can be really good for the start of the year. You can observe how children use these loose parts and where they're transported to around the room, and then build on this by adding loose parts to areas where they're not normally taken, or enhancing the loose parts in areas where they're used really well. Loose parts are also a great vehicle for schematic play. You may have seen children engaging in repetitive action in your classrooms. The child who comes every day and takes all the cars and lines them up in a row. This is schematic play. It's necessary for brain development. Children are exploring the world around them and developing different schema. Loose parts is great for developing creative thinking. They encourage children to use their own ideas and solve problems in their play. It can also help to develop communication and social skills. For example, if a stick is to be a wand, then you need to explain to your friend who you're playing with what you're doing, either through actions or words, so that they can join in and play along too. Realising the ambition tells us it's essential that we regularly evaluate how children are using the spaces within the environment and make changes and additions where required. Children should be involved in developing and caring for the environment. Ensuring a cycle of observing, planning, and evaluating will allow us to be as accurate as possible in how we resource our environment and the differentiation that we use to make sure our continuous provision is as accurate as possible to challenge and support our learners in their play. Within the Building High Quality Foundations environment document, there's a provision guide. In this provision guide, you will find all the spaces that you may have set up within your room. On each page, there are top tips to consider when setting up each of these spaces. These are often practical tips that will help you in the setup of your environment. The picture you can see on screen is a great example of where we don't need to buy resources to facilitate play. We can make things out of junk modelling and things that we have around our homes and nurseries. Thank you for watching this video on learning environments. The documents, guidance and websites showed on screen will be linked in the Learning Library for you to explore further.